I'm here with Tim Franke from Duneland Media, who is not a TSA risk.
We reach into the shadows to discover the unsung heroes among us and bring them into the local spotlight.
Welcome to Local Spotlight. My name is Zeno, your host, and I'm here with Tim Franke from Duneland Media, who is not a TSA risk.
I am not, despite what the TSA may believe. I was telling Zeno I just got back from a trip a couple days ago, and every time I fly, I think this is the time that the TSA is going to see me as a respectable citizen and not a potential terrorist. And every time that wish does not come true. I believe it's my bushy, thick eyebrows, perhaps my olive skin, but either way, every single time without fail, I am scrutinized, searched, and it's never fun. And it bothers me even more because I know that they are stereotyping me. This particular time, I went to Las Vegas. I got searched on the way there. They took my contact solution out of my luggage, which was in the TSA-approved size small bottle. It had a red cap on it. They said, this contains peroxide, which can be used to make bombs. So do you expect me to make a on the airplane? Isn't that something you would do before?
All right. Did you say that to them?
I did. They did not find
they
that
did
funny,
not like it, right?
But I like to question them because I know that what's happening is not a coincidence because
Right.
it happens literally every time. And then on the way back, I left at 5 a.m., so I'm thinking it's 5 a.m. Surely I'm just going to breeze through. No biggie. Well, I'm walking in to the security checkpoint area, and I notice a Homeland Security officer with a dog off to the corner, and I see him staring me down, and I'm thinking, all right, well, here we go. Sure enough, he comes up to me, just myself alone, and says, please stand there. While the dog does a sniff of you, the dog and himself walk around me several times. Dog doesn't hit on anything. I go about my way. I get maybe 20 feet, and he's like, sir, come back here. I'm like, oh, what now? So he's like, I just need to do this one more time because he couldn't believe that I didn't have a bomb or something on me, I assume. So the dog does his thing. He's trying to get the dog specifically to smell my luggage. The dog's looking at him like this dude's normal. They're coming at me because of my looks.
All I had to do was look at you in this great big world.
In this episode, we're going to talk a little bit about small business marketing. We're going to talk a little bit about what you do at Duneland Media, and I'm really interested into delving into the mind of an entrepreneur. And you started doing this professionally like 10 years ago. You were in the corporate marketing world, right? And so what was that transition like from corporate and being your own boss? And what's the differences that you really see in your life experience, really?
Well, from a life experience standpoint, it's fantastic. I know I cannot ever go back working for anyone, specifically in a corporate sense. There was just too many things that I found mind-numbing and pointless that I had to do on a weekly, daily basis that had nothing to do with efficiency. But when I started 10 years ago, I have a partner, Adam Konechny. He and I were both in the corporate world, and we started talking about our frustrations. And also at that point, we were both employed in Chicago. I lived in the city for about 10 years, but when I met my wife, we wanted to move back to Northwest Indiana to start a family. So we did, and I continued to commute for a handful of years, which I really, really hated.
Did you take the train?
I did not. No, I drove.
You drove?
I drove every day, and some days I was in my car for 6+ hours, and I could feel my soul leaving my body.
Yeah.
So I said, got to get out of this. I knew we could do better than what the corporate experience was giving our customers, as did my partner. But we couldn't convince our wives to be on our team and just let us dive full into it again. We were both starting families at the point.
Would you have, do you think? If
I would
you have, you
Yeah.
would have just said, I'm done. I'll figure out how to pay my rent next month.
Absolutely, but I'm one to make rash decisions sometimes, which is why I'm glad I have my wife who
Yep.
prevents me from rushing into things. And I want to call it a stupid thing, but I don't think it's a stupid thing. But I get it. You never know, and it's scary. You know, you have a mortgage, you've got car payments. At that point, when we did start it, we had one baby. I now have three, but I knew I had people dependent on, you know, my salary, and so we decided we'll just start quietly because we had non-competes. They've got corporate attorneys that we wouldn't have stood a chance at fighting against. So we very quietly just started building up. And 4 years later, we took the leap. But even 4 years later, when we did take the leap, we weren't anywhere to the size we needed to be to make a comparable living. So there was one other deal I had to make with my wife, which was, let's sell our house because we've got a lot of equity in it, and we'll have a nice nest egg to get by on while we're taking a hit on income. And if this doesn't work, it's not the end of the world. Of course, I was saying it's going to work. We don't have to sell our house.
Right. How long did it take you to replace the income, do you think? Like, how long do you think it really takes people to start? I mean, a lot of people think, "Oh, I'll be fine in a couple months," but like, how long did it take?
No, I'm honestly, today, I'm still not making what I was then.
Okay.
I'm very, very close to what I was making then. However, both my partner and I have looked at this as, I mean, it's a commitment for the rest of our working lives, and we would rather invest in the business. You know, I could easily say, I'm taking this pay and I'd be making way more than I was, but I would rather continue to grow the business, continue to invest in our employees, equipment, everything we have in order to be successful and plan for the future to
Right.
keep building an amazing company.
What's the vision for Duneland Media? Like, where do you want to be? What do you want to do?
We don't, you know, I don't have any solid, I want to have 5 different locations set by this date, because it's not necessarily something that I want. What I want is to be the best around, and I want to continue to grow as a business. You know, that doesn't mean I want to be in a high-rise downtown owning 10 floors.
Right.
That just means I want to be better every day, and I want my business to grow every day. And if we do those two things, I'm happy.
And what's the? I mean, even if you say, okay, yeah, I'm reinvesting that. Yeah, there's some long-term money that you can make as you build it bigger and bigger, like you're saying, because you're reinvesting all of that. But as far as like the life experience goes, like the quality of life that you have working for yourself versus other people, how would you contrast that?
Unbeatable. And I mean, I won't say it's undescribable because I can describe it, but as a father of 3 kids, my kids are 10, 8, and 5, and they have a lot of needs, they have a lot of wants, they do a lot of sports, different after school things, and I'm able to be there for that. And not only be there, but I'm coaching a little league team. Last year I coached a Pop Warner football team. So the flexibility is invaluable in my opinion. I've always wanted to be a part of my kids' lives as much as possible, and I am. And I'm not going to look back 20 years from now and say, man, I wish I had been there for that, because I will be there.
And you can't put a price tag on that.
Right.
Yeah.
You can't. So I may not be making the exact same income, but I'm far better off because of it.
Well, and you're happy, and you love what you're doing. I
do.
I mean, and I think it's the reason I chose to have you on the show is, you know, a marketing company is when I owned small businesses before, I had a lot of people say, oh, hire us for SEO, hire us to do this, and we'll be your marketing company. And I took the risk on a few, and I watched it all be a waste, to the point that I was like, well, I guess I'm going to have to do marketing on my own. I'm going to have to learn SEO, build my own websites. I'm going to have to do all of my own content. I'm going to have to do all of that myself, because I just didn't trust a marketing company. But there was something about you. I'm like, I loved that your mindset was ROI. Like, hey, look, my goal is to make you money, and if you're not making more money by investing it in me, then I'm failing. And I loved that you were local. Like, I think that really makes a big difference, because it wasn't just some company somewhere that could fold up their doors and say, sorry, later, and because you know the local markets. But taking that risk with you is probably, I remember telling everybody, I'm like, they are the only marketing company that I've ever met that if I put money into it, I actually watch sales increase. Like, that was really cool. That's got to be really satisfying.
It is, and that's the whole point of what we do, is not to sell a shiny ad or make a business look good. It's to make you money. You know, we are in the business of ROI, and if I'm not making you more money than you're giving me, fire me. Why would you pay me? We are strictly a place where you as a business owner come to invest your money and know that that money is going to come back to you, hopefully tenfold. That's probably aggressive, but still entirely possible. You know, if we're not making you money, fire us. And that's having that mindset going into it. You know, I know that we have to be the best at what we do, and we make sure our employees know that as well, and we continuously train on what we do. Stuff is ever evolving in our world, which I actually like, because it's not just making the same widget every day, day in, day out. We have to stay on top of things. We have to be hungry and educate ourselves. So it's, to me, that challenge is fun. But to your point, yes, when I see, and we have businesses that have been with us this whole time, and when I see the amount that they've grown, it's extremely satisfying to me. And, you know, we have great relationships because they know it, and that's what it's all about.
Yeah. I mean, it's got to be knowing. I mean, it reminds me, like you were talking about, and this, you already have this mindset. Did you ever read The Science of Getting Rich by Wallace Wattles?
No.
1910. Fantastic book. But one comment that he said in there, a principle, is to always give somebody more in use value than you take from them in monetary value. And that's really what you're doing. Look, I'm going to give you something more in use value than you're going to give me in monetary value. In other words, it's not a marketing expense. It's a marketing investment. I think a lot of small companies think, I'm not making enough money for a marketing company to engage a marketing company. What would your reply be to that?
I would say if you keep that mindset, you're probably not going to be in business for very long, and that's also why 90% of businesses fail in the first 5 years. But we are not, you know, a huge behemoth company with corporate jets to pay for and CEO salaries. We are hyper local. We employ local people, and our prices reflect that. You know, we don't say you have to spend $100,000 to work with us. You know, we'll work with almost any budget. If you came to me, you know, with a budget that wasn't going to work, I would just tell you it's not going to work, because again, I want to make you a return. I want you to work with me for the entirety of our business careers. So if I just take your money because you're offering it, you're not going to work with me.
I remember being surprised when I remember where I was standing. I remember on the phone call, I was like, well, can you start with this? I don't remember if it was 500 or 1,000 or 15. I don't remember what it was. Less than $2,000 for sure. I was like, if I gave X dollars a month, could you do something with that? And I thoroughly expected you to say, no, you're going to need to invest more than that to get the traction that you need. And you did. And I was like, oh, really? What would you do? And I loved that it was custom tailor made. And you didn't say, this is what I would do in a script. Your response to that was a question. Right? Who's your customer? And really getting into that to understand the business. I mean, I love how inquisitive you were in the beginning. What are some of the things that smaller businesses that are starting out, one, yes, make sure that you plan for a marketing expense, because it's either going to be the expense of your time or the expense of hiring somebody. And so and all the money, all the time that you're spending on marketing is not being spent on the other things that you're supposed to be being good at.
And even with that time spent, you're not going to become an expert. I mean, there's so much that goes into it. Really,
and it's changing.
It's changing. It's a science. You have to know your stuff. And, unless you're doing this for I don't care if you go to college for it, you're far from an expert until you
probably even, especially that.
Right. Until you're in this world and have seen it and evolved with it, you truly don't understand it. Now, to your credit, when we start working together and you mentioned, I've got to learn how to do this on my own because I'm having bad experiences, you did. And that was clear to me. You knew more than most people we work with. And whenever I see that, I don't get scared or run away. I like that because now I know I can go a little deeper in what we're talking about, but I'm still confident that what I'm bringing is going to work.
Yeah.
And I'm kind of off topic from your question of what should a business plan for marketing wise?
What are some things that people can do that are grassroots? I'm trying to get this thing launched and I really don't have any money for marketing, but I want to get at least to the point where I can have a budget. Like,
Sure.
What are some of the things that you've seen that can work?
I mean, you can build your social media pages, hopefully build your presence by people liking and following it. Even if you do, Facebook has an algorithm for business pages that's roughly 30% of your followers are going to see your organic post. If somebody on their personal page were to share it, that grows exponentially. But they limit what a business page gets because that's how they make their money. So that's something you can do, but it's a small start. Honestly, I think getting out in your community, getting involved and spreading the word, networking, that's some of the best things you can do when you're initially starting.
Real face-to-face networking.
The grassroots stuff, go knock on doors, pick up the phone, make some calls, just get the word out any way you can initially.
Join your chambers, go to speaking events. Yep.
Even if you go to Squarespace or GoDaddy and build a very templated generic website, it's not going to hurt, but it's also not going to help. So, now you've got an informational site, but chances are nobody's going to find it on their own. So, those are all good things you can do to have a presence, but you got to get the word out yourself initially.
Yep. Like, can you build a side hustle to the point where it replaces your income in most cases?
I think it's much easier if your income is low at the moment, certainly, to replace that with a side hustle. But in my experience, if you're not fully committed to your business, you're not even touching the potential that's there. And it's extremely hard to juggle. I think back to doing this on the side for 4 years, and over the course of that 4 years, we probably grew it as much as we grow now in a month, maybe 2 months.
Right.
It's if you're not giving your business your full attention, it's never going to truly succeed. There's unlimited potential if that's your focus.
Yeah. What do you said you started off with just you two, and you said you have 10 employees? How did you choose what was the first employee?
First employee we hired was...
Like, what position?
She was brought on to basically help us manage advertising campaigns. My partner and I were handling the web design at that moment, and we had just this was probably 3 months after we went into it full time. We had too much going on, so we knew we needed somebody to help. So we brought in somebody to help us manage ad campaigns. I don't know if there would have been a better position, whether it's web development at that point or not. It worked out fine, but now,
how did you pick that position to fill? Because you could have hired a web designer. You could have, what was the?
We thought it would be much harder to find a good web designer than it would to find somebody who just came out of college who had marketing degree that pretty much had grown up with social media. That was our theory. I think we were probably wrong on that because I've since seen a ton of local talent for developers and all things marketing. But that was our thinking then. And so that's why we went that route. But now, we've got people with 3 developers and then people that handle very specific avenues of what we do.
But can you talk about those?
Sure.
Like what do you like? What's the breadth of services?
Yeah, absolutely. We do social media, both management in terms of posts, whether it's weekly, daily, whatever the frequency is that you might think is necessary, but we'll tell you if it's not. And we do social media ads. We do Google ads. We do search engine optimization, which is basically working both on your site and off of your website to help raise the ranks within Google. So if I'm a plumbing business and I look for a plumber near me, we want to get you up at the top or near the top. We used to, before Google went to like a continuous page of results that you keep scrolling. You remember when it used to be literal pages? There was a nerd joke in our industry that was where do you go to hide a dead body? Second page of Google.
Yeah.
Nobody goes there.
Nobody goes there. Right.
Basically, you've got a billboard in the middle of the desert on an abandoned road. But anyway, so that's what SEO is. We do video production.
SEO stands for search engine optimization.
Correct.
Optimizing your site with the words that are in there so that the search engine sees it, likes it, knows what it is.
The words, the structure, the coding of it, and then offsite link building and building up the credibility. There's a lot of factors that go into SEO, and SEO takes time, but in my opinion, it's probably the best value overall in the long run. But if you come to me and say, I need business in the next month or I'm going out of business, I'm not going to steer you towards SEO because that takes months to see results.
And be careful because the SEO world is probably filled with more scam artists than you'll ever, like any aspect of marketing. If somebody comes to you and they says, I can get you on the first page of Google, I can get you on the first page of Google tomorrow. For what term, I think is anyway, lots of empty promises.
Or a lot of businesses pay companies to manage their Google presence, which will be something like anywhere from $100 a month to $300 a month, and literally all they do is register their Google profile, add a couple pictures, maybe a couple sentences, and never touch it again.
Right.
Yet collect that money every month, and you'll get calls from people who say, "Hi, I'm with Google. I want to talk to you about your profile." They're not with Google.
Google doesn't call you.
Google does not call you.
This is actually a fun topic. So, what are other little marketing scams that are out there that businesses should watch out for?
That is a big one. You will see letters mailed to you from like a domain registry saying you owe $300 for your domain this year. That is garbage. Throw it away. That you don't owe a thing. Constantly, every day, I see spam Facebook messages. Your business page is going to be shut down unless you verify or you do this or that. And most of those are links that are phishing links that are looking for you to enter in some info, and now they take over your whole account. Be very aware of those. There's so many scams, but I think the biggest trap is most people don't understand SEO or code, and you just say, I know I need this, so I'm going to pay this company to do it, and then you just go on and forget about it.
And there's not a lot of ways that you can prove that they're not doing something or whatever. Like it's very easy to scam people, I suppose, because they don't really have to provide that much proof.
They should if they're good,
right?
But if you don't know that they should,
right,
then it's easy to fall in that trap.
And since we're talking about that too, we were talking earlier about passwords, and we're talking about protecting businesses, and you kind of hit me right between the eyes. So why don't you hit them right between the eye with that?
Stop. I'm talking to you. Stop reusing your passwords. Stop it. And stop using passwords that are your kid's birthday or something that people can easily figure out with a couple Google searches on you. your dog's name. Stop. All of it. We use random password app that there's a lot of free ones. We pay for this because I can share it amongst our employees. We create vaults and determine who gets access to what. So we've got our development vault, our marketing tools vault, our customer provided accounts vault, and we use it to generate a 20-line string of random letters, numbers, and characters that you would never, ever be able to figure out, even if you have, which a lot of hackers have, robots just constantly entering things, but the probability of them entering 20 random correct strings is next to nothing. So,
And if they're all different, now even if they get one, they're not going to get them all.
yeah, and I bet at least probably 5 times a year, maybe even higher than that, I get a frantic call. Hey, my business Facebook page has been taken over. They want 10 Bitcoin to give it back to me. What can I do? And the answer is start over.
What are some of those apps that you know of that are, hey, this isn't a scam, this is decent?
So we use 1Password. It's the number one, and the name comes from because I have to remember 1Password, which is my password to get into that app, and then I have all of my passwords. And for that 1Password, it's a password I've never used. It's completely random. I have it memorized now, but they stress, and I took it seriously, it has to be something random. There's I think it's RoboForm I've used in the past. So if you go into the App Store or Google search password generator manager, you'll find a ton of options. I'd look at the reviews and go with one that's reviewed highly. I think it's important to choose a company that is, and I think local is valuable. You can not only stop my office and come see me. Chances are I'm within 15 minutes of you where you live, where I live. We're not going to screw anyone over because this is our community and it's where we live.
And you also ran for public office, and you want to talk about that at all, or do you not want to talk about that?
Sure.
The point is you were in the public.
Yeah, I'm very much in the public.
Yeah.
More so in LaPorte. I'm on the city council in LaPorte. This is my 5th year being on it, and I've been the president of the council the whole time. And it really cost me money to do that job because of the amount of time that I put into it. But that's a passion project for me. I'm from LaPorte originally, and I'm raising my family there. And I just saw, when I moved back, I saw so many things that just seemed like such easy fixes, and thought, well, I'm not going to be that guy who just complains on Facebook, and that's where I take my time to. I'll try to do something about it. So I did, and I ran and I won, and I'll stand behind the work going on in LaPorte over the last 5 years. I think we've accomplished a ton, and there's way more coming. We have a major housing need right now, and that's a focus on our very top priority right now is creating more housing because there isn't enough housing for people to live. But that's a good problem to have, right? And one that's pretty easily solved. But ultimately, we're bringing in some real big businesses that pay great wages and provide a good living for people, and that in turn attracts people. The other aspect of growing a city is things are different now, where it used to be 20 years ago you chose where you live because of your job. Now that's not necessarily the case, and a lot of times it's not the case because you can work remotely, so you choose your city based on quality of life, and that's especially true with younger people, which we want. That's how you grow. So we're focused on building our quality of life in LaPorte. We've got 7 lakes within the city limits, and
There's 7 lakes?
There's 7 lakes. We put a major
That you can put boats on?
Motored boats, no. For like powered boats, there's definitely 2, maybe 3. There's 2.
Okay.
I'll stick with 2. There's 2 big lakes. But we've put in a huge focus on improving our trail system and our park system, and we want it to make LaPorte a place where people choose to live, not because of their job, but because it's awesome.
Yeah. And that's cool because a lot of those people are working remotely more. Mm-hmm. So that's how a community gets built, is if it wants to grow, you first attract usually employers that would employ people, but that's an older model. I'm sure it still has a factor here. But what is drawing people to LaPorte? The parks, the nature, what is it? What's drawing people?
It's a combination of both of those, and it's also, marketing. We put a focus on, we redid the logo, came up with a brand. We're living the lake life now in LaPorte is our slogan.
Yeah.
We've added a lot of events, and there's a weekend-long lake fest. Last year, Everclear played for free. The city paid for it as a free show with Everclear. Mm-hmm. But if we do Friday night lives downtown with bands and food trucks. But yeah, it plays. It's quality of life, it's business, and it's marketing. You have all three of those. But there's a lot of similarities. There's also a lot of not similarities, but there are a lot of similarities with business and government. And the main mindset I had going in was LaPorte's been the same, maybe more like a very slow decline my whole life. And I think it's just like business. When you look at a city, if it's not growing, it's dying.
Even a city, a town, an area, marketing affects that in a big way.
Absolutely, especially with where we're located in Northwest Indiana.
Yep.
You look at Chicago, and I lived in Chicago for 10 years. When I moved here, I felt like I was living like a king because of the taxes and the cost of literally everything. You can live here for so much less, and people are starting to catch on to that, especially as taxes in Illinois continue to go up and up and up. How to effectively market yourself as a business.
Okay, cool.
And, I see, again, in our industry, it's ever changing. And when we first started, those areas I mentioned before, web design, social media, SEO, Google Ads, that was kind of our focus, and that was it. Since then, we brought on a graphic designer to do a ton of design for print work, which is still something that has some value. But more importantly, we brought on video production and photography, and we built a studio because nothing tells your story like a video. And I think every business should have a video at least explaining what you do, but really the ultimate power from video comes. Traditional cable is dying. It's the
dying. I haven't had cable for 20 years.
Right. It's the yellow pages. Right. It's on its way out. And we do a ton of YouTube ads, Hulu ads. It also plays well on social media. A good video does. And I mean, there's tons of other streaming services that we've tested, but YouTube advertising works, and I think that's an avenue
because it can be localized.
It can be. I can go to within 1 mile of your address, so it can be hyper.
I did not know that. That's awesome.
Yeah, hyper local, and that's what I love about the internet is we can geofence an area. We'll have customers going out to Vegas for a trade show, and we will put up a geofence around that trade show and just put up display ads. So when I pull out my phone and get on the Weather Channel, I see, come visit Company X at this booth, and drawing people that way. Or we're giving away this at our booth, and it increases that. It's neat. Some people find it creepy, but the way that you can really target people online is effective.
I've been hearing a lot like, I know of no one else in the region that's doing this, and this is awesome. And what I'm finding is people are really wanting to be on the show because they want to create content. And I'm starting to hear other businesses say, hey, wait a minute, what if I did a show to educate people on things that were related to my discipline? Like, even plumbing. Like if you have a plumbing company, get on camera and talk about what you can do to not have to call a plumber, or all of these other things.
Or tell me how I can change my leaky faucet in the bathroom. It's not going to hurt your business by any means.
Right.
And I find for my personal use, YouTube is my master teacher at this stage in my life.
For real.
If my lawnmower break, anything happens, first thing I think is I'm going to go to YouTube, type in my lawnmower is making this funky noise, and chances are within a few minutes I'm going to find somebody with the same problem that's going to show me how to fix it. And if let's say you are a lawnmower sales company and you sell parts, what a perfect way to advertise too. If I'm searching for that and now I'm looking at how to fix it, chances are I'm going to need a part, but maybe I just say, it looks like too much. And
right.
Now I see
I'm going to show you how hard this really is.
Visit dunelandmedia.com. We make it easy.
Local Spotlight has been brought to you by livexstudios.com.
If only there was one site that listed all the concerts, festivals, and every other fun event happening in Northwest Indiana. There is. It is at panoramanow.com. Plan on making memories that last.